Strike is king. Most people who are coming for lessons are wanting to improve their strike, i.e. their compression with the golf ball. They often say, I don't take a divot, Marcus. My angle of attack is too shallow. The club's coming in like this. The dynamic loft's increasing. The club sometimes bounces or they hit the ball a bit heavy and they'll rarely get the leading edge, digging in and a solid compressed strike. So if that's you, then this video could be the perfect answer because it's all about motion. It's not about a position. And a lot of good things happen when you explore these motions and when you start to optimize them. You don't just get the strike, but you start to get an overall awareness of how you're swinging the club and you learn to adapt that to play different shots. So we often find that by improving the strike, improves the ability to shot shape. The player starts to draw it without even trying. Quite often, just by improving the release dynamics to get the strike, you improve angle of attack, you improve the path, and suddenly the face is rotating and the draws start happening. So if you're struggling to draw the ball and compress it, then this would be a fantastic thing for you to go and practice. And it's the slingshot. You may have seen it on a lot of the lesson videos, but what I want to do is I want to go into a bit more depth today and explore how we can find our natural slingshot. What should the motion feel like? Again, often I get asked in lessons, what should it feel like? Online too. Marcus, how should this exercise feel? Well, I can't actually tell you how it's going to feel. You've got to experience this for yourself. So we've got to explore it. So what is the slingshot? Essentially, it's allowing your levers to move freely. So if I, as a right-hander, take the club with my trail hand, so my right hand, I'm going to let the wrists move. I'm going to make a circle with the club. But in order to make this circle, I'm opening the face and closing it. So the wrist has got a free motion. I'm not trying to guide this thing with the shoulder and the elbow. You can see here, I'm allowing my elbow just to react. The shoulder's nice and free. And I'm making an arc with the club. And notice the arc maintains its shape. If you find that you're not actually allowing the wrist to open and close the face, i.e. supinate and pronate, then this might happen. Can you see now it's deviating off to the left? So I'm not actually in control of this arc here. My intention is to keep it in this direction, but the movement I'm using creates this. But I'm imagining this going straight. And this often happens on a golf course. People are aiming straight, thinking they're swinging straight, intending to hit it straight, but they're swinging left. And then what do? They aim right then. And then your mates say to you, Marcus, you're aiming miles right. And you're like, well, no, I think I'm aiming straight, but you're actually swinging left. But to you, it's unnoticed because these compensations happen over time. So we've got to make sure we're not creating these bad habits. So first of all, recognizing what it's like just to swing the club in a nice circle. And allowing your wrists just to snap at the bottom. There's just a freewheeling snap release and we're already creating a slingshot action. We can start to introduce more of the elbow and let the shoulder react. So now I'm actually driving this action more from the shoulder. And you can see the body's starting to react. So we're actually triggering a natural body movement. It's a response to the swinging of the club. Intention always drives motion. So the intention is to create the circle. We're creating this now and the motion of the body starts to happen. And we've got this slingshot action. And that snap release that we can feel at the bottom can be made later. And notice now how the shoulder is driving the movement. The elbow starts to lag. The wrist lags behind the elbow. Look how far the club head is. Look at the wrist, how extended this wrist is. To then allow that late release and just imagine where this low point would be. It's going to be well in front of the golf ball. We're actually swinging on the way down. We've already got a lot of the features we need to get a good compressed strike just by exploring this action. And as we start to introduce rotation of the body, it makes it even later. It brings the club around and look at the handle now. It's so far in front of the club head. You've got more lag than you'd ever dream of with this kind of action. And you'll see some players on TV, they are experiencing these movements. Now, I'm not saying we have to go to that degree, and we're not trying to copy the tour players. But what we've got to do is find our slingshot. We've got to find our way of transferring momentum through to that club in an effortless way. So how can we make this easier? Well, we can start to swing this away from the body, which means we've got to swing it behind. So the best place to start is with the club in front of you, vertical. And what you do then is you throw it behind the body. You just throw it behind and whip it through. And now I've got a slingshot out to the right, away from me. I'm using centrifugal force now, and I can time this. I can make it even later in terms of the snap. And you can let your body get involved. You can start to let the body act as the pivot and rotate to help sling this golf club away from you. Now, what I've done is I've taken this arc here and I've just shifted it 45 degrees roughly away from me there. And what's happening now is I can sense the swing weight behind me. And that's so important. Having the swing weight behind you means that when you rotate, you're throwing it out. You've already got the characteristics for a draw. You've got a club that's swinging away from you. And not only that, with the slingshot action, we've got the feel of the snap release here and the rotation of the shaft and the club head to create the closed face for the draw. So we've got a closed face to the arc, i.e. the swing path. So this is already starting to create a very functional, easy motion. This may feel counterintuitive because you may have been training with sticks on the floor or being told you've got to swing here, and this can take us into a place that makes this quite difficult unless we've got some real ability to adapt our movement and optimize during the swing dynamics, during the golf swing. But these dynamics are difficult to recognize with manipulation. We've got to find our own natural way of swinging the club. So don't be afraid to swing the club behind you. Don't be afraid to swing it around. It doesn't mean you're going to do this just because you swing it inside. It's actually helping us to create that natural lagged lever system. We can actually now rotate through, and this is all trailing. You'll notice the textbooks say the club has to be parallel and things like this to the target line, on the toe line. But even though this is swinging behind me, at a moment in time, it's going to look like that. On the arc, you'd never really know where you need to be if you were working on these positions, because how high do I have to be? Where does the club have to be relative to my rotation? How much wrist cock? There's so many variables. What I suggest we do is remove those sticks and just sense the motion of the club head. Because if this is too much from the inside, you're going to start to sense it because you're going to start to get blocks or big hooks. And that's a great place to start. If you can recognize these parameters by exploring them, you're going to sense where right is. And then you can start to straighten it up and maybe even explore left. So it's giving us an enhanced sense of the space we're swinging in. And it's all about awareness. So once we've got this swing to the right and this nice freewheeling, snap release, closing of the face, we can bring the other hand in and we can start to feel it with both hands. What you might find happens when you bring your lead hand on is that arc doesn't continue in this direction anymore, and with the face rotating, you might find this happens where it just flips and goes left. Because even though your intention is to swing out there and rotate the shaft and the face, which requires this supination of the lead wrist, that movement may not yet be recognised in our vocabulary. We're capable of doing it, but we never use it. So we've always released it a different way. So we've got to retrain ourselves. We've got to educate ourselves into how that feels. So what I suggest you do now is take it with your lead hand and do the slingshot. And it's a very different feeling when you're rotating the forearm and the wrist and allowing this just to rotate, palm up, knuckles down. And what this is allowing you to do is continue the arc in the direction you intend. It maintains the direction of the swing. So your swing direction doesn't deviate. And now I've got this club swinging out there, rotating, and it's a very different feeling to this. I see this a lot. That's not to say you can't use this, okay? We just want to explore all opportunities to use the wrist and find our best way of swinging and releasing it. So we've got to explore all the possibilities. And this is often uncharted territory. So here now, with this slingshot, I can sense where the club is behind me. I'm actually going to pick it up vertically and throw it behind me now. And feel that sling. Here, there's a slingshot, a natural slingshot happening. And I'm going to start to let the body react. So the arc continues. Recognising where you need to swing to allow this to happen is key. Because if you go to a golf ball, the chances are you're going to revert back to your old setup, your old takeaway, your old wrist cut, whatever it is, the old swing arc, and then this may not be possible. Because we're so used to doing this and using our upper body and not really throwing the centre of mass of the golf club behind what is the centre of rotation of the swing. Ultimately, your upper thoracic. So here, now I've got the swing weight behind me, I can throw it out. But if my club's up here and I rotate, I can't possibly create that natural swinging action out to the right. So we lose that effortlessness to the swing. So what I want to do now, guys, is show you how we can just recognise space behind us to facilitate this natural slingshot feel we're developing with this exercise. So I'm going to just spray on the wall. I'm going to ruin the wall just for you guys. There we go. I'm not going to make it as an artist. We've got 1, 2, 3, different space. Now, obviously, this is set up for me as a right-hander. Where do I need to be to create the slingshot? I can feel this golf club travelling literally through 1, 2, and 3 to get out there. And I'm actually feeling that slingshot release, that snap release of the wrist, which is just allowing the arc to continue. Now, we're not really swinging out there because what this triggers is the body movement. The body starts to rotate in response to where the club is. So you're throwing the club into a space that creates a natural reaction with the body. It's like throwing a ball. You throw your hand behind you and you react. This is instinctive. We're tapping into instinctive, primitive movement patterns just by using our space around us intelligently. So by throwing this club behind me, I'm suddenly in a place where I can slingshot it on the way through. So I'm actually feeling 1 might be too steep, 2 feels pretty good, but 3 for me, a 2 to 3, I might even feel myself move from 2 through to 3 and back out. What we don't want to probably feel is moving from 3 to 2 to 1 and going this way, because that's like a reverse slingshot. Now I've got the centre of mass of the club travelling towards me. That doesn't make for a very efficient slingshot. The levers are actually collapsing as opposed to getting thrown off the body. And it's the swing weight that's allowing this to happen, and it's the swing weight that your body recognises. That's what it's using for its spatial orientation in terms of adapting movement, creating the sequence. So give yourself a chance, guys. Just give yourself a chance. 2 to 3. It gives us a chance. And then let your body rotate and slingshot it through. If you're not sure about the slingshot, pick the club up, throw it into that 2 and 3 space, and then slingshot it through. So you're just picking it up, throwing it into that space. Remember, we're throwing the swing weight into that space and slingshot it through. So we've got this natural release away from the body. Because we're rotating, the club should be travelling away from us for as long as possible. We don't want this golf club travelling towards us. We've got to keep throwing it off the pivot, and all we're doing is rotating the pivot. So you've got that natural carousel action with the club, and that's how you're going to get the club swinging out, face closing, de-lofting the face, steeper angle of attack because it's a later release, low points forward because the levers are firing later. A natural swing path out to the right. You've got everything you need there as a right-hander for a draw. And just making some nice, easy 3/4 swings. And just getting the ball drawing. Even if you don't hit the perfect shot, don't worry. Now this is giving you some feedback on face and path. The ball starts where the face was pointing. That's influencing it the most. And the curvature is the path. So I've hit that a bit straight and then it drew. So that's giving me now an opportunity to feel the slingshot more to the right. What I felt as 2 or 3 might have been more 1 and 2. So I'm going to go further behind me on the way back, more inside if you like, and more out to the right. And now I've got a shot that starts more to the right. Did it draw? Not as much as I wanted. So I've got to let the face rotate. Now I'm going to feel more of the slingshot. Pulling ourselves back, away from the ball, refresh the feeling, and all the time we've been very proactive in response to the feedback we're getting from the shots, because we've got some sense of feel and concept now of where we are, what we're doing, and these feelings that we're experiencing now have got some meaning. They've got some attachment to something that's actually real. And this is how you can start to actualize your intention. And just hitting little shots, guys. Don't have to go full out, not expecting the big Hollywood shot straight away, but definitely experiencing something different, feeling that slingshot and playing around with it. So guys, I hope you found this interesting and of real use, because a lot of us experience these issues, and no matter what level of player we are, you may have seen some of the lesson videos lately with some of the tour players, they're experiencing similar issues to you and I. So this is relevant for anybody, no matter what ability that you play to or possess. We've always got the ability to improve. So by changing how you think, exploring new fields, and using the slingshot, you can get some better compression and a better strike, more ball speed, more distance, bit of draw. Who doesn't want that?